gentlemen, welcome back to KUTV Kenya. We are at 50 minutes past 7 a.m. So we are still in our first hour, which is fantastic because we have a lot to do. And I am not alone in studio. I am joined by two amazing doctors, experts in their field that we just want to sit here and listen really. So just like last time, we are going to be talking about mental disorders. I have been corrected. It's not mental health disorders because mental health is wellness. Then mental disorders is illness. So you see, when you say mental health disorders, you're not making sense because you are saying wellness and illness at the same time. So we are going to have a conversation on mental disorders, and I am joined by Dr. Agnes from right here at KUTV and Dr. Ongecha, who was with us here last Monday. So that will be a good continuation. So I just want them to say hello, to tell us their respective departments before we start. I think we can start right here with Dr. Ongecha.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, listeners, and good morning, Blessing.
Good morning, Teto.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here again this morning. I'm Dr. Francisca Ongecha, and from the department, I'm a consultant psychiatrist from the Department of Psychiatry and Mental Health. Yeah,
yes.
Kenyatta University.
Exactly. So psychiatry, which we said is different from psychology,
yes,
from last Monday.
Yes,
so this is why I told you need your notebooks that you can refer and then write the new information that we are going to gather today. All right. So that is Dr. Ongecha. Dr. Agnes.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Agnes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a consultant psychologist. I work in the Department of Psychology of Kenyatta University, and I counsel people.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure having you.
Yes.
We are hoping to all have a counseling session, you know, in unison,
yes,
as we understand mental disorders.
Yes.
So karibuni sana. It's a pleasure to have you here like always. We want to get right into it because we have a bit of ground to cover, starting with Dr. Agnes. I just want us to want you to help us understand what constitutes a disorder.
Okay, thank you, yes, Karen. So a disorder is an illness, and this illness will prevent you from functioning the way you are supposed to function in terms of your physical activities,
yes, and
in terms of your mental activities. For example, you are supposed to wake up in the morning, yes, and you go to work.
Yes.
But you can be sleeping. You are a father, but you are sleeping instead of going to work.
Yes.
So there's a physical activity that you are not doing.
That you are not participating
Yes,
in.
You are a mother. You are not waking up to prepare your child to go to school.
Yes.
So instead of that, you are sleeping. Or for example, you sleep under the bed because you say there is something on top of your bed.
Yeah.
So the physical activities have been impaired negatively, and then the mental activities. For example, one mental activity is problem solving.
Yes.
You can't solve any problem. Instead, you start to cry.
Yeah.
And you are somebody who is like for the something years.
Yes.
You cry. And then decision making, you can't make even a small decision because your brain is full of confusion, giving you the wrong signals.
Yes.
And so when that happens, we say that you have a mental disorder,
yes,
because you are not able to function the way you are supposed to function,
yeah,
both mentally and physically. But in assessment, there must be a cluster of symptoms that now you must have for us to say that you have a disorder, because you can have a symptom of a mental illness, but that doesn't mean you have a disorder.
Yeah.
So there's a cluster of symptoms that we usually look at during assessment to say that now the person is having a disorder.
A disorder.
Yes.
So it cannot just be one symptom.
No, it can't. Like now I have a symptom of a mental disorder myself.
Yeah.
Because with this hand that I'm carrying, this hand is supposed to be carrying me, but I'm carrying it.
Yes.
Because of the accident that I got.
Yes.
So for me, I have a symptom of a mental disorder, a mental health problem, but it is not a disorder because it doesn't meet a cluster of symptoms for it to become a disorder.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
I like that understanding because Dr. Ongecha, if you can remember last week, we talked about disorders having something, the person is not participating in society like they should. Because now when you have not woken up on time, you've not taken kids to school, you're not playing your part in society. All right, thank you for that. So I want us to get back to mention common disorders in a brief overview, and then we can also also take us through 3 non-common, because I know there's a list of the common disorders every other day, but also there are some others that are non-common. So Dr. Ongecha, if you'd be so kind to take us through that.
Thank you very much, and I think I'm glad that we are here because we had told our viewers that we shall now be able to discuss the mental disorders this morning.
Yes.
And it's important that we understand why we are talking about common. Yeah, I don't want to scare people, but just like any other system in the body and discipline of medicine, mental disorders are many. We have major categories, about 22 major categories of mental disorders.
Ooh, 22.
And each category has more than 3-5 disorders. So at the end of the day, we actually have more than about 300 specific mental disorders. I know that may make people start thinking, what do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And is a reason why we talk about common mental disorders, because we can't discuss everything.
Them all, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. 2, I also want to mention that mental disorders are part of what we refer to as non-communicable diseases. Yeah. So don't put it aside. We have non-communicable diseases where we have diabetes, hypertension, neurological diseases, and that's where we also have mental disorders.
Yes.
Yeah. So when they're glad now that the country is talking about non-communicable diseases, chronic disease fund. So we are seeing something in that line, this light. And at least there will be some funding even for mental disorders in that category of diseases. So what are the common mental disorders? We talk about common because these particular disorders account for about 80% of all mental disorders. They are majorly mood disorders, anxiety disorders, and substance use disorders. They account for 80% of mental disorders. The others that are many are not very common, but they are there. But they account for 20%.
For 20%.
Yeah, and I will mention something when I come to that 20%, which we talk about the non-common mental disorders.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in brief, the mental disorders, I think I've mentioned them. And do we need to say anything much at this point?
Not really. Just maybe a highlight of just a few.
Yes. So anxiety disorders are those conditions that are associated with a lot of worry. Yeah. Worry, a state of tension that would now make you present with some symptoms, which we shall discuss at the end. And this worry, sometimes it's worry, sometimes it's fear. You know, that bit that you are anticipating something bad is going to happen. Normal anxiety is okay because as we even had last week and we know, it makes us work.
Functional.
It makes us perform, excel. Yeah, when you have anxiety for exams, now that we are in an academic environment, you read and you read and you make it. Yeah. But if there's no that anxiety, you can just sit and relax and realize we've not done much. Yeah. So even for runners, it's the same thing. Yeah, with that anxiety, the body is able to give them a push and they'll be able to make it to the finish line. Mood disorders are basically conditions that are associated with emotions. How do we feel? Yeah. And there are basically 2 types, the depressive disorders and what we refer to as the bipolar disorders, which we shall be able to highlight. It's part of our major discussion this morning. And then substance use disorders. These Siamese twins, remember mental disorders are Siamese twins? This one is with us. And the reason why substance use disorders are with us is because, as we said, contributes to development of other mental disorders or is a complication of mental disorders. Yeah. But more so, even when we look at our mortality, the deaths in this country, substance use disorders, especially alcohol use, tobacco use, and of course the other drug use, contribute to death. In fact, when you look at the major contributors to death in this country, alcohol related disorders is number 6. Tobacco is number 8. And other drugs, number 13. So these are disorders that are with us, and we need to be able to discuss them. We'll not take our time discussion today in SUDs. There'll be another webinar that I would also want people to join
Yes.
in on 31st from 7:30 p.m.
Yes.
where we shall just discuss substance use disorders. Yes, as Siamese twins.
Yes.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
we give a lot of time today
Yes.
to these other
To
common
these other
mental
common
disorders.
mental disorders.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A brief overview of the at least 3 non-common.
Yeah,
before
3
we go to
non-common.
Dr. Agnes. Yes.
Thank you, Blessing.
Yes.
3 non-common conditions that I would want to talk about is one condition that I think is what many people think is mental disorder.
Yes.
This is schizophrenia spectrum of disorders. Yeah, schizophrenia-related disorders.
Yes.
Yeah, this is we call it a psychotic disorder. It's a chronic disease, and it's a severe mental disorder. And it's what I think a lot of people see, where you get people who have a distortion in reality.
Yeah.
So they may hear things that other people don't hear.
Yeah.
They may see things that other people don't see, or even feel things that others don't feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. They may also have these false beliefs that are quite true for them, very unshaken, but don't relate with their level of education, even their culture.
Yeah.
What we refer to as delusions.
Yes.
When they see things that others are not seeing or hearing or feeling on their skin, then we talk about hallucinations.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's that category of illnesses. And I think this is what a lot of people see, and they say, oh.
And they put in the whole blanket of mental disorders.
Mental disorders, yeah. Then we have sleep-wake disorders. Sleep-wake disorders, people have problems with sleep.
Yeah.
These are disorders of the rhythm. At what time should you be awake and what time should you be asleep? Yeah, because the body has a clock.
Yes.
So when there is derangement in that pattern caused by several other things, then you can have problems. And several of them, as we said.
Yeah.
The most common one is just where people say that they have lack of sleep, insomnia.
Yeah.
Or they're sleeping too much,
Yeah.
hypersomnia.
Yes.
Then there are also these people, we've seen people who are able to do a lot of things in sleep. Some sleep talk, they give a whole story of their life. And in the morning, they're like, they never said anything.
Yeah.
Or some are asleep, they're able to do complicated things. They can wake up at night, cook and eat, and wash plates.
In their sleep.
And in the morning,
Yes.
they never woke up.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can be complicated. And some can actually be aggressive at night. They can fight you at night. When you say, oh, you attacked me as your partner at night.
Yes. They're
Not
like,
me.
cannot
somebody
remember.
else.
Yes.
So that's one other condition. And then finally, I probably want to just mention personality disorders. Yeah.
Okay.
Personality disorders are with us. It's not that when you have a trait, then you call it a personality disorder. As Dr. Agnes said, there must be several specific cluster of symptoms and signs that would make it a condition.
Exactly.
Those are conditions that are there. And like now when I said that there is one major category and then many, like in personality disorders, we have 10 specific personality disorders. So that's what makes us say that when we are talking about specific diseases, then we have over 300.
They are over 300. That is a huge number. Dr. Agnes, do you have any other to add on the non-common mental disorders?
Yes, thank you, Blessing. I think I will also call you Blessing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Blessing. We still have so many non-common mental disorders because like my colleague, Dr. Ongecha has said, we have 22 categories.
Yes.
So I'm going to just single out 3 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the non-common mental disorders is the eating and the feeding disorders. Yeah. Here, people can refuse to eat. We call it anorexia nervosa, where people refuse to eat basically. You can be like 80 kgs.
Yes.
When you start developing anorexia nervosa, you can actually drop within 1 month from 80 to like 55 kgs. Yes. And
that's a huge
It's a huge drop.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, when you look at the structure of the body, they look extremely thin. So they have to be fed intravenously because they cannot be able even to survive by the time they are taken to hospital.
Yes.
And then others can eat non-stop.
Yeah.
Not because they want to eat. Remember, we are talking about mental disorders. So the brain is not working. So they eat and eat and eat, and they cannot control the eating. We call it the binge eating.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when they eat, they vomit. Bulimia nervosa. Bulimia nervosa, they have the normal body weight. When you look at them, they are beautiful, they look okay,
Yeah.
but they eat and they vomit. They induce the vomiting
Yes.
because they are not happy about their body, no,
Yes.
the body image. They
Yes.
have a problem with the body image because they have an erroneous belief
Yes.
that there is something wrong with their body. Either they are too fat.
Yes.
Yes.
So they are eating, but then inducing vomiting so they can.
Yes, they're inducing vomiting because in their brain they are not okay. They are fat, but they are not fat. They have the normal body weight. So what happens is that they actually get sick. They have lacerations on the tongue because they are vomiting. They get other complications, physical complications as a result of that.
Yeah.
Yes, and then there are some who will eat other things like blanket. They eat papers. Picker. They just eat non-food object and they keep on eating, and it's not because of pregnancy. No, it is because it's an entirely different mental illness. It's because not because of they can even eat rocks.
Yes.
And their stomach can develop now problems, but they cannot stop themselves from that.
Oof.
Yes.
Since it's a whole spectrum, it goes from mild to very bad.
From mild to very, because it's a disorder. You see, now we are talking about disorders. It's actually very bad. Yes, because like anorexia nervosa, they die.
Yes.
Yes, when the intervention is not given, they die.
Yeah.
Then another uncommon mental disorder is what we call dissociative. Where you get dissociated from your self-blessing. You can walk away from your family from Nairobi and go to Mombasa. Get married. You want a family in Nairobi with 3 children and a husband.
Yes.
You actually leave your family, completely forget you want a family.
Yes.
Go to Mombasa and get married and get another family in Mombasa. Then you can see a relative coming from home and they find you there and they tell you, aren't you our sister?
Yes.
And then you even call the police on them.
Because you disassociated with.
You disassociated completely because they affect the memory. You can't remember.
Okay.
So you call the police and this family member has to go back home and bring a lot of people to come and confirm that this is their sister.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's another extreme one.
And we have amnesia, the normal amnesia, the one you see on TV. I think in the movies you see a lot of amnesia.
There's a lot of amnesia.
There's a lot of amnesia. Where you forget localized amnesia, you can forget a section of your life.
Yes.
It can come back later, but it is amnesia. And then where you lose completely reality and you observe yourself as if you are another person. We call it depersonalization. Yes, it's like you're observing another person, but not you. You are not in touch with the reality.
Yes.
Yes.
Like it's like I'm an out-of-body experience. I am thinking Karen is there.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, because you are 2 people in one. You have become depersonalized because you are dissociated.
Yes.
We call them dissociative disorders. They are uncommon, but they are very severe. There is no mental disorder that is not severe.
Yes.
Yes.
True, because now when we're talking about the effects and how it is making you behave and how it is, those are very severe complications.
Yeah, they're usually very severe complications.
Yes.
Yeah, then the last one is impassivity and conduct disorders. Some of the people you see, impassivity and conduct disorders. Some of the people you see on TV putting houses on fire, they are mentally sick. It is called pyromania. So what they do, they have no control over that. So when they feel they have to set the house on fire, because sometimes that mental disorder, it is connected with sexual orgasm. So when they set the house on fire, they get a sexual orgasm. So they can't stop. Setting the house on fire until the police catch up with them. And that is why we have so many people with mental illnesses in the prisons.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, because those are ridiculous connections. Even
Yes.
I think this discussion was needed.
Yes, and I want to give you one more example of that. Kleptomania, where you steal everything. You can be a high school student, but you are stealing everything from your teacher's books, from the student books. You steal everything, not because your family is poor, but you have a mental illness called kleptomania. So when they come checking your desk, they find everything piled up in your desk.
Yes.
Yes, but you can't stop because you are sick.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if that is not handled properly, then a lot of them may be in prison because those are serious repercussions.
In prison, we have so many people with mental disorders.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we needed this conversation in order to be able, like if this gets to government level, how we can know how to deal with these things apart from just imprisoning people for 20 years, for ages.
Exactly.
Yes. I hope that you guys at home are taking notes and are looking into people, friends and family to try to understand maybe where they are coming from all these things. Well, I want us to then get our hands dirty and start with mood disorders. Dr. Ongecha, I want us to talk about depression and bipolar disorders, and how would one know that another person or yourself is suffering from depressive disorder?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me just mention something about what Dr. Agnes has said.
Yes.
Yeah, she said we have a lot of people who are sick and are in prison.
Yes.
And the beauty about the prison and the justice system is that the law does not allow a judge or a magistrate to convict.
Yes.
Yeah, or incarcerate somebody who is mentally unwell.
Yes.
And for that, actually all our prisons have a block for the mentally ill. And our prisons also, we have prisons health services, including a director. So they are able to take care of them. And normally patients, mentally ill offenders, we call them mentally ill offenders, would be brought to psychiatric facilities or hospitals, county hospitals for review, and therefore they are normally taken good care of.
Yes. So we are already a step further in terms of what our government is doing and what our justice system is doing. There is something that is already been done. Well, that is good news because you cannot imagine someone serving life imprisonment for something they did because they were mentally ill.
No, that one the judiciary is quite clear.
Yes, so far
that.
We are
and
doing
of course,
well.
Human rights law, it's unfair to do that.
All right, so we are doing well. As a government, so far, so good. All right, let's now jump to your question
so
on
now
depressive
you
disorder.
asked me a question, and we talked about mood disorders and especially depressive disorders. So we start with depressive disorders.
Yes.
So basically, depressive disorders are, maybe we ask, what is mood?
Yes.
What is mood? It's just a subjective expression of their emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel? Like you were asked today, how do you feel?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's basically I'm asking you about your mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very happy this morning. I usually am on Monday mornings. Usually very, very hype.
You are hyped for Monday.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So just like you have said, you have mentioned subjective.
Yes.
It is subjective because
it's your experience.
Exactly.
I can't change it for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your experience. I'm just asking, how are you feeling?
Exactly.
So in terms of depressive disorders, we are basically talking about people who have this condition with a low mood. Yes. And low mood comes with also different varieties.
Yes.
Yeah, there could be anger, there could be irritability, there could be dysphoria, that unpleasant mood that you wake up in the morning and you are not this and you are not that.
Yes, you're just there.
And you're just there. So an experience of that low mood that occupies you most of the day, yeah, or most of the times in a week, yeah, then that is when we start talking, no, that is now something that one needs to attend to. And what happens when you have low mood? Definitely a lot of things come with it. Yeah, things like lack of energy, feeling that you don't want to do anything, not the things that you like, so lack of pleasure, or lack of interest in what you are doing. Then outside that, there are those things that are going to now happen in your body. And Dr. Agnes had alluded to some. So you'd have what we would refer to as vegetative symptoms, those things that make us survive. So you may start realizing you have a problem with your sleep, that you don't find it, you either don't sleep well, or you again, people say you sleep a lot, but normally you spend a lot of time in bed.
Yes.
Yeah, not necessarily sleeping. Yeah, but some people actually sleep a lot.
Yeah.
But otherwise, just because of lack of energy, they would spend a lot of time in the bed. They find it so difficult. They have to drag themselves so much in the morning. They can wake up for 5 hours. Trying to wake up,
waking up,
and they are waking up. Yeah, then appetite.
Yes.
Some of them will have poor appetite, which is the usual that people know that if you are depressed, then you don't eat.
Yes.
But some will eat a lot. It's like they're trying to get some consolation in the eating. So again, that comes to issues of weight.
Yes.
So there'll be loss of weight for some.
Yeah.
Increased weight.
Yes.
It's so sad if you are going to have good appetite. and your weight increases, and you are depressed, people say no. You can't be depressed and you are even, they look at you and they feel that you are even living better than what you were before.
Yes.
Are you telling us you are depressed?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are those opposites that sometimes people don't associate with depressive disorders.
Yes.
Yeah. Then when there could be this slowness in what you are able to do. Some of us are very fast.
Yes.
Such that when we are slow, we are asked, are you well?
Yes.
Yeah. But now, for depression, that would go down even for people who are slow. The energy goes and they will take a lot of time to do their things.
Yes.
So that's another category of symptoms. And then the last one I want to talk about cognition.
Yes.
Remember we said that mental disorders have issues of emotion regulation,
yes,
which is now the mood we've talked about,
yes,
the sad mood and all that, irritable mood. Then we have thinking, thinking and feeling. So I'm going to talk about what are those cognitive symptoms,
yes,
or cognition or thinking symptoms that appear. One is normally poor concentration, impaired concentration, which also comes with poor decision making.
Yes.
You had Dr. Agnes talk about decision making. Feelings of guilt, that probably you've done something or you're not able to do something and it's bringing this.
Yes.
Low self-esteem, low self-esteem. The moment you start thinking about, oh, I can't be able to do this, I'm not equivalent to so-and-so, I don't have this. So that bit of thinking, those are the kind of symptoms that come with it.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are some of the symptoms that people will experience. But then, as we said, they'll realize that they're affecting their ordinary work.
Yes.
Either their performance at work, how they relate with other people, or even how they themselves feel.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So like Dr. Agnes says, it's a cluster. It's a cluster of many symptoms that you can be able to pick out and say, okay, I think this is depressive, one of the depressive disorders. Okay, Dr. Agnes, I'd like us to take us to understanding of the causes and vulnerabilities that are associated with depressive disorder.
Thank you, Blessing.
Yes.
So these vulnerabilities, they are in 3 categories. Because a vulnerability or a risk factor or a cause is something that makes it more likely for you to develop that particular mental disorder.
Yes.
So one of them is genetics or the genes.
Okay, yes.
So we pick the genes of our mother or our father, our grandparent up to across the 4th generation. We can pick genes.
Yes.
So when people pick genes from their parent, that family can have a vulnerability to developing depression. If your mother had depression, if your grandmother had depression. And that's why we take the family history during assessment.
Very seriously.
Yeah, very seriously. We take family history to establish whether there is a genetic vulnerability.
Yes.
Because the way I'm going to process, we call them psychosocial triggers, like when my mother dies. If I have a vulnerability, what will happen to me when my mother dies?
Yes.
I can actually develop clinical depression instead of the normal grief depression.
Yes.
So people are waiting for me to wake up because my mother has died. Other people have woken up, they have gone to work, but me, I'm sleeping. And people are thinking, oh, give her time, it is because her mother is dead.
Yes.
But kumbe me, I had a vulnerability.
Yes.
So people don't know kumbe I'm developing what? Clinical depression. Then what happens? They come one day and they find me dead because I killed myself in the house when I'm alone.
As they were waiting for you to
recover, to grieve. Kumbe, I developed clinical depression because of that vulnerability. So genetic is actually very serious.
Yes. Okay, so genetics.
Genetics, then we have a chemical imbalance, which Dr. Ongecha, they were talking about even last week. The chemicals in the brain, we call them chemical messengers, but they can be high or low. So for depression, they are usually low. So when the chemicals are low, like dopamine, then one has a vulnerability of developing now depression. So, and the dopamine can be affected by several factors, including drug and substance abuse, which now is also a factor, a biological factor, because drugs, they usually imitate the chemical messengers and they take the work of the chemical messengers. That's why when you take alcohol for some time, your central nervous system gets depressed because usually what happens is that the alcohol itself becomes a neurotransmitter. It becomes a chemical messenger. Yes.
So now, okay.
Yes.
So now when this is where there is all the difficulties in withdrawal,
Yes.
because they replaced.
Exactly. So the person really struggles.
Yes.
Because we call them psychoactive drugs, psychologically active. So when this person wants to behave normally, because the work of the neurotransmitter has been compromised, the way the signals are being sent from one part of the brain to the other is affected.
Is now all.
That's when Dr. Ongecha is saying the person is trying to wake up. You can't wake up.
Yes.
For 5 hours you are trying to wake up, and it happened to me when I got the accident, because I was developing depression, but I couldn't be able to cut it.
Yes.
Yeah, I could know that I'm actually developing depression.
Yeah.
So I try to wake up, I can't. I cry.
Yeah.
I cry and I cry because whatever the energy levels are very low, I have fatigue.
Yes.
So we call them biological predispositions. We have others.
Yes.
But I want to go to the psychological because they are quite a number. Biological are quite a number. We have like now hormones, menopause and menstruation and pregnancy. They usually interfere with our hormones.
Yeah.
And we feel depressed. That's why when you have menses, girls are irritable and what have you.
Yeah.
Because now that one becomes a vulnerability factor. If they get a psychosocial problem at that particular time, they are likely to develop depressive disorders.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have now psychological vulnerabilities. One of the worst is the traumatic life event. And they happen to everyone.
True.
Very traumatic life event.
Yeah.
And they include bereavement, they include accident, they include a terrorist attack where you lose body organs and other things. They are just terrible.
Yeah.
Traumatic life event. So what happens is that when you are processing that, you are likely definitely to develop depression.
Depressive disorders.
Yes, depressive disorders.
Yes.
Then we have a pattern of negative thinking, which we are not the same. We call it the negative triad. Where you have your predisposition towards life, the way you see life is chronically negative.
Yeah.
Not because you want, but you are given that when you are growing up. It's called a schema.
Yeah.
Your parent gave you a negative schema when you are growing up, or the environment where you grew up. So you became chronically negative. Now these people, they are likely to develop depression compared to the other people.
Yes.
Because they view the world negatively, they view themselves negatively, and they view other people negatively.
Negatively. Like your perspective towards life is all negative.
It's actually negative, predominantly negative.
Yes.
Do you see? So that is a psychological vulnerability. Then another psychological vulnerability is Maslow theory. We were born to self-actualize. We were born actually to move up the ladder, even in blessing.
Yes.
If you are not moving, you stagnate.
Yes.
Like now, do you see our university students when they don't get a job?
Yes.
It's not healthy for a person to sit somewhere on the side of the road looking at people the whole day.
Yeah.
They will definitely develop depressive disorders.
True.
So Maslow theory, what now the president is trying to say, let's get jobs for young people.
Exactly.
It is to prevent mental illnesses. Because Maslow inability to move up the ladder to do something needs, productive.
Yes, upwards, up to self-actualization.
Up to self-actualization. It's a very big vulnerability.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer the way we view mental disorders.
It's
becoming clearer as you explain and what might have caused this.
And what might have caused this.
Yes.
The last one I'm just saying because there are many sociological, because there are biological, psychological, sociological.
Yes.
So sociological, we have traumatic. Now traumatic when you are growing up, child neglect, child mistreatment, child abuse.
Yes.
Bad ones. You see, like my friend was posted in Kibera. She's a primary school teacher.
Yeah.
She got traumatized because the children, she told me the children would come when they are so beaten up. She removed the dress of one of the girls because the girl was sitting somewhere looking very sad. Yeah. So the teacher took her to the staff room only to remove the clothes and realize the whole back was full of blood. Because on being beaten, they are beaten even for stealing 10 bob. Child abuse is terrible where depressive mood disorders are concerned.
Yes.
Because later the child will get married, but they have a vulnerability because of the neglect.
Yes.
The abuse, and the sexual abuse is the worst. And our justice system is full of children. There's a time I went for a conference and the judges were facilitating. One of the facilitators was the judges. Yeah. They were telling us they have countless cases of child sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Yes. Now these children, they have already, and their way of looking at the world is completely distorted.
Yes. Because already predisposed to
such experiences. So when they get married, and they get psychosocial triggers, for them they will become more, they are more vulnerable to developing depression
exactly.
compared to the children who were not abused
well
when they
taken
were
care
yeah
of.
when they were young.
Exactly.
And of course we have poverty.
Yes.
Poverty is a bad thing.
True.
Homelessness and unemployment, those are terrible social problems.
Exactly.
And stigma.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop there because there are quite a number.
Yes.
Yes.
And
yeah.
we need to go through
And we need
a
to
number
go through
of them.
yes.
So from here we are going to start answering in brief so that at least we are able to capture everything, and rather someone goes for further investigations on their own.
Exactly.
We want to move to bipolar disorder, and apparently it's different from depressive disorder. Dr. Ongecha, help us understand that. What is bipolar disorder? How does it manifest? And how is it different from depressive disorder? Just in brief.
Thank you very much. Again, I like making the last statement.
Yes.
Our last statement here.
Yes.
Children. If we do a lot of things for our children, we'll be well. Because 50% of the mental illnesses that we see in adults actually begin in childhood. Yes. So people need to pay more attention to what we call a child.
Yes.
That is below age 18.
Yes.
Yeah. So other than that, then we talk about bipolar.
Yes.
I like using simple things. First principles. What is a pole?
Yes.
Yeah.
A pole.
Yeah.
Okay. You
then we are talking about
this
two
is
poles.
the decision for this is the place for texting.
We say that some people are in the North Pole, some are in South Pole.
South Pole.
Yeah.
Yes.
That so here we are talking about bi.
Yes.
So there are 2 poles. And we are talking about mood.
Yes.
So there are 2 poles of a mood.
Yes.
So you can be high or
low.
That is basically what we are saying. So bipolar disorders are disorders that have this set of unique mood experiences that
keep shifting
from high to low.
Yes.
Yeah, or low to high.
Yes.
So if you understand that, then we are okay.
Then we are. I think that is the simplest definition of bipolar I have ever had.
So now we can now get into what is this high.
Yes.
The low pole is basically what we have talked about.
Mood.
In depressive disorders.
In depressive disorders.
That is the low pole is just depressive disorders.
Yes.
So my responsibility here would be to talk about the high pole. Yeah.
Okay.
The high mood.
Yes.
Yeah. How do people feel when they say they are like, now you're happy today?
Yes.
But you're not unusually happy. This is just your normal happiness.
Yes.
Maybe I can ask the guys in your studio, the one that you work with,
is
blessings, happiness of today usual or it's unusual?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it is unusual happiness, that's where now we start talking about a high mood. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Unusual happiness.
Yes.
And it can go up to euphoria. Just feeling, just feeling good.
Yeah.
And when you feel good, there are a lot of other things that come with it. Again, in terms of mood.
Yes.
You feel that you are self-important. You feel you are somebody.
Yes.
You can do something. You'll have a lot of energy. Yeah? You'll be able to talk a lot. Yeah. You don't wait for people to ask.
You tell them.
Yes. Yeah. You tell them. Then you'll also feel the energy in you. Yeah. So this energy now leads to some things. So you'll be able to work goal-directed.
Yes.
In fact, we have a lot of people who are really goal-directed. There's somebody who's in the office who can do a lot of work. Will even help the other people. Yeah. Those are the days that they are in high mood.
Yes.
And I'm saying high mood because you'll be able to differentiate that there are also days that they are very low. They get very deflated.
Yes.
But we are talking about the high mood. So they'll be able to do goal-directed activities. They'll be able to they engage in reckless behavior. I mean, they are go-getters. They can try anything.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't mind driving while drunk.
Yeah.
They don't mind getting into risky business.
Yeah.
Risky business. And by the way, we normally say they can even sell you when you are next to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can do business with you.
Very serious as business. The commodity.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of, my sister here, Dr. Agnes, when you see her here, in fact, I brought her along, not that she's just Dr. Agnes.
Yes.
She's the millionaire. Yeah. So this business, she will be able to handle it. She has money. So you'll be here attending to this story.
Yes.
And we are discussing how business will be done. Yes. And I'll make sure that Dr. Agnes doesn't talk a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So that when you are trying to engage her, no.
Yes, she does not
remember
tamper
we
with
were this deal was me and you. I'm just brought her along.
Yes,
to confirm to you that we can do this thing. So
yes.
they're those kind of people. Yes. And then, of course, because of the energy they have, we've seen some extremes. You can you only be able to dictate that there's a problem, maybe even with people in the office. When somebody now decides that I'll be cleaning my office, and this is a senior officer, senior manager, and he's like, no, don't get to my office. I'll do the cleaning, but even by the time the cleaner comes, the office is cleaned.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you realize there is something that is not.
The guy works, doesn't go home.
Yes.
Or if he goes home, he goes at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, we are really doing well. The manager is working on the company issues, but things are going overboard.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are some of the symptoms that they present. And substance use.
Yes.
They can't try anything. They try. What people can't try, they will try for you. Yeah.
Where other people draw the line, they have no line. Yes.
They don't have a line at that point. So the problem is that these symptoms come, and sometimes they're self-limiting, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's good both ways.
Yeah.
So they're self-limiting. But then with this period, then the person experiences some periods of extreme lowness. The symptoms that I
that you listed
initially for depressive disorder. So what happens is these are people who experience this high mood, which we refer to as manic or hypomanic episodes, and these low mood that are depressive episodes. They don't happen at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't present with a manic episode, maybe even this month.
Yeah.
Then I go quiet. If I'm treated, I will be okay, but sometimes they're self-limiting 3-4 weeks on.
Yeah.
Then maybe 3 months
from now,
or even 3 weeks. I'm so low. You give me work, there's nothing coming out of my desk.
Yes.
And people don't understand. In fact, you hear some people saying, somebody so-and-so is normally high, sometimes low. You don't even know what's happening to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they are very active. Another time
they are not active at all.
Yeah. So for us to make a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, there must be this episode of high mood at one time in their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there has to be.
There has to be. Yeah. If we only have depressive episodes, then we talk about a depressive disorder.
About a depressive disorder and not exactly bipolar.
Not a bipolar.
Yes.
Unfortunately, again, you can start with depressive disorders, then later on you get a manic episode or that high mood. That is a time now will change your diagnosis from a depressive disorder to a bipolar. And that is important because sometimes people say, we don't know what this doctor is saying. The other time they said my sister has depressive disorder. Now they are calling it bipolar.
Yeah.
It is simply because 60% of the people will start with a depressive disorder.
Yes.
60%. So it means that at that point, their diagnosis will be depressive disorder.
Yes.
Yeah. But the moment that they get a high mood, then we know we are dealing with somebody who has a bipolar illness. Okay. And that will now distinguish their even treatment.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So what are these causes or vulnerabilities, Dr. Agnes, associated with bipolar disorder?
Thank you, and blessing, and thank you, Dr. Ongecha. So actually what the scientists have found out is that 90% of people with bipolar, they come from families where family members are bipolar. So the first one is genetics. Yeah. 90% is a very high percentage.
Yes.
Yes, but there's a predisposition again of child abuse, child neglect. You see this abuse when someone is 0 to 12 years is actually so bad because it can give you compartmentalization.
Yes.
Where your personality can be split. Do you see?
Yes.
And the way of coping becomes maladaptive. That's how you develop bi and po, the two poles that Dr. Ongecha is talking about.
Yes.
So chronic child abuse, continuous child abuse, whether physical, or whether sexual, whether emotional, is actually a very big vulnerability factor.
Yes.
And we have a few risk factors, for example, advanced age, the levels of education, the way we process things differ. Low levels of education, they don't process psychosocial triggers very well,
Yes.
or the things that happen to them in their lives.
Yes.
So it is a protective factor. Education is a protective factor. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So those are some of the risk factors for bipolar
For
disorder.
bipolar disorder.
Yes.
Well, I'm liking that we are going from what can cause to what the illness looks like before now we move to how treatment is done.
Yes.
I want us to move to psychotic symptoms. Dr. Ongecha, take us through psychotic symptoms and how they relate to mood disorders.
Okay.
Yes.
Before I get to psychotic symptoms, which of course I'll be able to explain, there's a common symptom that runs across all mood disorders,
Yes.
which we call suicidal ideation, which suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, quite common in those two conditions we've talked about.
Yes.
Mood disorders,
Mood
whether
disorders.
it's depressive illness or bipolar.
Yes. So a common symptom they share is suicidal.
Suicidal ideations.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, with suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes they end in death by suicide.
Yes.
Yeah. So you are asking about psychotic symptoms.
Yes, psychotic symptoms and how they relate to mood disorders.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Psychotic symptoms are basically two major categories of symptoms. What you had me talk about under schizophrenia, the hallucinations and delusions.
Yes.
And the hallucinations are where one sees stimuli, where the senses are able to see, respond to a stimuli when there's actually no stimuli.
No stimuli.
You are seeing me here because I'm here.
Yes.
But if you are seeing 6 people here with me, and we can see there are no 6 people,
Yes.
then remember there's no stimuli.
Exactly.
Yeah, the senses should only be able to see.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
to respond,
what is exactly
to respond to a stimuli. We have 5 types of senses.
Oh.
So it could be the eyes.
Yes.
Eyes should be able to see.
Exactly.
If it's the ears, they should be able to hear.
Exactly.
And there should be that stimuli, that noise
Yes.
that the ear is able to hear.
To hear it.
Whether that noise is a sound, music, or just a speech like we are talking,
Yes.
it's fine. But there should be somewhere
There should be a stimuli somewhere.
That's the
Yes.
voice or the noise. Then we also have the skin touch. Yeah.
Okay.
When things are on my skin, I should be able to feel them. But if I'm feeling things and there's nothing, like things are scrolling,
Exactly.
then that already is a problem.
Then there's a problem.
Again, the taste. When you give me a glass of water like this,
Yes.
this is pure water.
Yes.
If I start saying that now, this is whiskey,
Yeah.
and I can taste whiskey
Yes.
when it's actually pure water,
Yes.
there's
Then
a
there's
problem.
a problem.
Yeah. Or you give me tea and I start saying that you've put salt in my tea.
Yes.
There's a problem, which a lot of patients do complain about.
True.
That these people are trying to poison me
Yeah.
in my tea. They put salt instead of
Sugar.
And they can argue forever.
Yes,
Actually,
that
they even
they-
stop eating
Yeah.
food cooked by whoever they think
Yes.
puts things in their food.
In their food.
That's gustatory taste.
Yes.
And then the smell.
Yes.
There are people who can even move houses
Yes.
simply because where they stay, there is
Yes.
a smell.
Exactly.
They will remove all their clothes, wear clean clothes.
Yes.
The smell is still with them.
Yes.
Yeah. That is now olfactory. So all our senses can
Yes.
give us hallucinations.
Yes.
Yes. So those are what we call symptoms. The psychotic symptoms. And then the delusions.
Yes.
This false belief that something, you are somebody who you are not.
Yes.
Or people are following you. You've had people complain a lot. That so-and-so is planning my death.
Yes.
Or he has sent people to spy on me.
Yes.
Yeah. Everywhere I go, they are following me.
Yeah.
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 The unfortunate thing about these psychotic symptoms is that they lead to quite a lot of harm and also even crime. Yeah. Because imagine if I'm thinking that Blessing wants to harm me.
Yeah.
Blessing has no idea that those are the thoughts that are going through my brain.
Yes.
So I can feel that I've had enough. And therefore, I start planning how I want to deal with the Blessing once and for all. When we say once and for all, it means how I want to kill
Yes.
Blessing. And it actually happens. Yeah. It actually happens.
So the results of it can be very ugly.
Yes.
Yes,
in
the
the
results,
end.
yes. So
Yes.
those are paranoid delusions. But we also have people who have some other interesting delusions. Sometimes they feel that somebody is in love with them
Yeah.
and they don't like that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not in love at all, but this person loves them so much.
Yes.
even the person has no idea.
Yeah.
But here, they are very convinced.
Yes,
Yeah.
that.
So they would
somebody
really
is
want to
indeed
even
in
run
love with
away.
them. Yeah.
They again can even move houses. They can even leave a job.
Yeah.
Because they can't just stand it. The manager and them, they're not interested.
Yes.
Yeah. So it tortures them so badly that they
end
can
up
just
leaving the job
see somebody
or
refusing
moving
to go
the
to work.
house.
Then
Exactly.
you're wondering, why are you not going to work? No, I'm not
Yes.
going. I'm not going. Yeah. So those are what we refer to as psychotic symptoms.
Yes.
Now, in relation to the two disorders we talked about, in depressive disorders, we have several of them. I just didn't mention them. We have our major depressive disorder is the most severe, but then we have these other ones that can linger on for 2 years, 3 years. You feel those low symptoms of depression that we talked about. You feel better. They're not so bad that you go to hospital, but you are normally in this mood. You can only be well for probably a period of 2 months only. Then again, you start feeling symptoms.
Yeah.
That's what we refer to as a dysthymia, or persistent depressive disorder. Then there's the one for menses. Those ones are okay. They'll not come with psychotic symptoms. But the major depressive disorder can reach a stage that now you have persecutory delusions. Remember the negative triad?
Yes.
Very common in severe depression. Yeah, so you'll reach this stage that you feel this world is not good, you are being persecuted, so how can I continue like this? And that is where we see suicides and homicides. Yeah, I don't want to leave my children here.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, in bipolar, similar symptoms would arise.
Yes.
Yeah, they would start getting suicidal ideation. For them, the delusions would be a lot of grander. They can do much.
Yes.
They can actually even give all their money. They can be very philanthropic. They can go to the bank. Yeah, you've seen people feel so bad when their siblings went to the bank, withdrew all the money, but they just buy anything. Things that they don't need, very expensive, and they can't be asked. Yeah. So again, when that happens, because they have that grandiosity that they are very important and they can feed anybody.
Yes.
Then when this happens, actually, normally for people with bipolar, after they get from that high, some of the consequences of the low, I mean, what makes them feel low is now the consequence of their behavior.
Of their behavior that they,
because now they would find themselves very bankrupt.
Exactly.
They've messed up their job. Some even stood up to the manager.
Yes.
And said, to hell.
And got fired.
Yes, to hell. This is not the only job.
Yes.
Yeah, vulgarity.
Yes.
And then left. Then now, when they now get well and now cannot stand what
the
they
repercussions of what their behavior has caused.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up suicide and homicide, because that is our last conversation on this. Dr. Agnes, just take us through how suicide and homicide relates, one, with mood disorder, and maybe highlight any additional risk factors that are associated with suicide and homicide.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, I wanted to add something before I say that.
Yes, that's
like some of the people you see being cult leaders, they usually could be having delusions. And when they're having these psychotic symptoms like delusions, for example, if they believe they're Jesus Christ.
Yes.
For example, now you have seen the Jesus of Tongarin.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have heard the stories.
Yeah. So some of them, because they have delusions.
Yes.
When you have delusions, you are so convinced because you are sick.
Yes.
And the way you talk to people is not the normal way, because that is your world. And you are one completely convinced you are Jesus Christ, or you are Obama, the president of US, or whoever you are. Because you are so convinced, people must follow you, because you don't talk like a normal human being.
You
because
are talking
that is
from
your
a
world.
conviction that is reality in your world.
In your world, that is your reality. So they are very dangerous, because some of the cult leaders have psychotic symptoms.
Yes, because that would mean some of them definitely have psychotic disorders.
Yes, some of them.
Then would answer the question, because we've been asking ourselves here, how is a person convinced to fast to death?
Yes.
So maybe it's the way the person that is suffering from this disorder, the conviction they are speaking with is not normal.
Exactly, it's not normal. It's so like the American cult leader who killed 900 people.
Yes.
And he took them to the bush just like Shakahola.
And told them to take poison.
Yes, yes. So thank you, Blessing. Let me come to homicide.
Yes.
And how it relates to the mood disorders. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that homicide and suicide, they are not mental disorders by themselves.
Yes.
They are usually outcomes of mental illness. They are outcomes of mental disorders. So when I'm sick, do you see all these disorders we have been talking about?
Yes.
When I'm sick, according to the studies that have been done, they have found that 90% of the people who commit suicide and the homicide, they have a mental health condition. 90%.
90 is a huge number.
Yes, it's a very huge number.
Everybody.
It's a very huge number. So that tells you how serious mental illness is. So when we look at suicide, suicidal ideation, we have suicidal ideation where you start thinking about suicide, but we have suicidal attempt, and we have people who die.
Yeah.
So when you look at bipolar disorder, 25 to 50% of people with bipolar, they will attempt suicide, and 15% will die.
Yes.
If you look at that number, 15% will die. Like now, I'm doing clinical supervision for a person handling a child with bipolar, and she told me the father has locked the child in the room. And that is why we are talking about, we are having this discussion because of stigma.
Yes.
And according to the father, the child is causing them shame because of going to the social media and uncontrollably posting things. So they have taken away the phone. They have locked the child. Okay, yes, she is 22. She's not really a child. Yeah. But in the family setup, she's a child. Exactly. And they don't know that the child can kill herself in the house. Yeah. Yes. So the vulnerabilities now, the number one vulnerability is mental illness. So we have some mental illnesses that are very bad in causing suicide. And of course, it's depression and bipolar. Exactly. Of course, psychotic symptoms, they also cause depression, suicide. Substance use disorders is also associated with a lot of suicide and homicide. Yes. And of course, we have some personality disorders because they have impulsivity. They're associated with suicide. So now when you look at suicide, it's the outcome of mental health problems. Yes. It's not exactly a mental health problem by itself. Yes. It's a result. It's a result of mental health problems. And that's why as a society now we have to be concerned about that. Yes. And because when you go and kill your family, that is homicide, suicide. Yes. You kill the entire family, then you kill yourself. It's called homicide, suicide. Yes. It's not because you want to do that. It's a mental health condition. There's something happening in your life that is now making you behave the way you are behaving because it's an outcome that you are not able to control. Yes. So your way of coping, because we call it maladaptive coping, but not because you want. It's the only escape that you have at that particular time. Yeah. Then we have other vulnerabilities. One of them is the career. Did you know medical doctors commit suicide more than other careers? Yes. Yeah, people in the medical field. It's a vulnerability. Yes. And the police. The police. Why would that be? The medical, she's a medical doctor, she can give medication, this one. Yes. But predominantly because they handle very bad case. Yani from morning to evening, you are handling people who are sick and they can't even smile. Yeah. Most of them cannot be able to smile. So because you are a human being, you carry a lot of trauma. Yes. And it can become overwhelming if you don't have a self-care plan, which our colleagues are coming to talk about treatment tomorrow, so we don't want to go into that. Yes. Yes. The police, their career is very traumatizing. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Look at the way they gather bodies. They are the first respondent when people have been cut into pieces and other things. Yes. So their career is more traumatizing, and then they have the gun, which is another risk factor. Yes. Availability of weapons. In US, weapons are available very easily, and there's high rate of homicide. They go to school, they shoot the school children, they shoot teachers, they do other things. So because they have access. Because they have access. There's availability of guns and such. And then, of course, substance use disorders. Yes, of course. I can be able to manage myself when I'm not taking a substance, even when I have another problem. Exactly. But if I'm taking a substance and I have another problem, then it becomes now a vulnerability factor. To injury. Exactly. So I'm more likely to commit suicide because I'm affecting the way my brain is working. Exactly. And I can lose control. Yes. Yes. All right. Hi. Yes. Thank you. I hope that you guys are learning. I want us to wind up because we are out of time. But before we do that, Dr. Ongecha, briefly take us through anxiety disorders as we close.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they say anxiety is not anxiety. Why do we say that? Anxiety is not just anxiety, because ordinarily anxiety is supposed to help us. Yes, like and I want us to understand when we talk about anxiety. Anxiety has three components. Remember, we talked about an anticipation of fear, worry, something bad is going to happen. Exactly. So that is the thought component of anxiety. So that is the first thing that happens. So when this message comes about something bad is going to happen. Then the brain, just like the army, we have NIS in this country, to check for any threats. So the brain is our NIS. So if there's any threat, any message that goes to the brain, there's going to be a problem. Then the brain marshals all its army, and the army is the body, cells, and organs. So what does it do? It tells them what to do. And what now happens, what we experience, you know, when you're about to do an exam and you start feeling that you have some lightheadedness, maybe you're choking feeling, your chest is tight, your heart is beating like it wants to leave your chest. You start feeling, you know, people go to the washrooms, there's something in the tummy. The muscles sometimes they loosen, you just can't stand anymore. That is the army that has been sent, and we refer to those as physiological symptoms. And then finally what happens if these things continue and the anxiety continues without anything done, then we see the behavior. So a lot of people will come with behavior that, oh, so-and-so is not performing like before. Students, or even at the workplace, or so-and-so no longer leaves the house. If this person has anxiety, that maybe they had an accident and they have now anxiety, or that something can happen, that they're going to get maybe a panic attack, like now a group of those symptoms would be like a panic attack. So if you are worried that you can start experiencing this on the road, and when you are alone, then you decide, no, I don't want to leave the house. So people will now complain that you don't leave the house. So anxiety disorder is when this worry is more than proportionate to the real fear that is there. And the frequency is also a lot. You are basically overwhelmed that now you can't. Ordinarily, the body is able to deal with any fear.
Okay, thank you for doing that in brief. Exactly. Thank you. As we close, Dr. Agnes, what are trauma and stressor-related disorders?
Okay, in a minute, because there are many. So trauma and stressor-related disorders, they are these disorders that occur because of a traumatic event. And this traumatic event, it must be life-threatening. Either you are the primary recipient. For example, I was the primary recipient. Where the police came to find me, they told me they never find living people. They only come for dead bodies. So it was a car crash. And the car was completely written off. So I'm the primary recipient of that traumatic experience. But Dr. Ongecha can be the observer, and she loves me. And I'm being cut into pieces and blood is coming out. So even Dr. Ongecha can actually develop a stressor and traumatic related disorder, which are very common because of terrorist attack. Remember the Westgate? Remember all those Dusit and the others, you see human body part flying, and you are observing, or you are the recipient. So what happens? You develop a stressor or traumatic related disorder, and the trauma is so bad. Let me tell you, Blessing, these traumatic disorders are so bad because you get nightmares. You get nightmares even during the day. You get flashback. You relieve the symptom. For example, if I'm walking, like I read about a guy who got gang raped 3 days to the wedding. You are moving through a footpath, and then you get 5 men gang raping you. What happens? You develop PTSD. The worst stress-related, stress and trauma-related disorder is what you call post-traumatic stress disorder. So what happens? Do you think that girl can even come out of the house because of reminders?
No.
Even for her to use that path, how long will it take that girl?
It will take a long
This girl, when she goes to the matatu, what happens? She will see a man smelling like one of the rapists. She starts screaming in the matatu. So people will ask you, what is happening to you? You see? So for example, when I was in Aga Khan, I used to get nightmares during the day. I would scream, and then people would come quickly. The nurses would ask me, what is happening? But I'm reliving the experience that I went through. So even the people who are not the primary recipients, they have what we call secondary trauma. Blessing, even you have trauma. What happens with the trauma? It is trapped in your body because you are observing traumatic event like Shakahola. So we develop what we call secondary trauma, but then you can develop now as disorder when the exposure is too much and too overwhelming for you to cope. Because what the trauma disorders do, they deplete your ability to cope. Other people must help you, because you are no longer able to cope. And so I'm going to stop there, because really there are very many, but I just want to tell people that, okay, I don't want to talk about treatment. Anyway, I'm passionate about treatment, but I want people to listen to themselves. We call it mindfulness. They be listening to their bodies, and they don't just sit there. If they start feeling there's something that is not okay in their thought patterns, in their bodies, because they can seek for help, because you can be cured.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Richard Okenye and is going to be having that conversation tomorrow. So if you're all wondering now, what do we do now that we have had all this information, knowledge, we can place ourselves at different patterns. Tomorrow is the day. You should be here 7 a.m. Richard Okenye is going to be having the conversation on treatment and how to cope with all this, and how to seek help, and how to actually get the help that you need. I want to go through a few comments before we go to closing remarks. Ashley Asachi saying, good morning, Karen. Can't wait to hear more on your guest, and most especially, Shalene. Shalene is coming along, all right? Tulia too. Thank you very much. Wahoo Tracy anasema, I'm really learning a lot. Thank you very much. John Samson Oteo is saying, watching. Thank you. Asante sana. Sharon Muthoni anasema, tuned in and liking the conversation. I am learning a lot on mental health. We said it's mental disorders. So mental disorders and their causes. Thank you very much. Stay tuned in for tomorrow for treatment. Okay. Derek Omondi anasema, loving the conversation, very educative and informing. Thank you very much. It is good to know that you guys are learning a thing or two. Frederick Toy anasema, watching, loving it. Thank you very much. And that is just a bit of feedback. If you're wondering where these people are at, they are on YouTube, where we are streaming live. Just go there, look for KUTV Kenya, leave your comment. I'm going to be getting to it in just a bit. But right about now, we want to close this launch, but not without final remarks. So I know you're going to be here. Are you going to be here tomorrow?
No.
Yes. I'm going to be here. We have had a set of doctors over the last Monday and Tuesdays, but we are happy, so we can have your closing remarks as we wind up. Let's start with Dr. Ongecha.
To our viewers, to our colleagues, to our sisters, brothers, parents, it is not lost. What is most important is just recognizing that there is a mental illness, or you are not feeling well. Go to any facility, they would be able to sort you out from there. Read also, there is a lot, and we'll continue. There's a lot of conversation, and we want this conversation to continue.
Exactly. And join on the webinar that is going on the 31st. This Wednesday, the 31st of May, 7:30 p.m.
Yes.
Okay, so please join in. You will be learning a lot more. Exactly, like you have here. Dr. Agnes, closing remarks?
Yes, blessing. Okay, to our viewers, all over Kenya and the other parts of the world, we are here to give destigmatize mental health.
Yes.
Actually, as I close, one reason why the Catholic Church started burying people who have committed suicide, they actually came to realize it's a mental illness. And so we are here to say that mental illness is an illness like any other illness. Personally, I've gone through it. God has helped me. I've come the other side. And so everyone, even the other churches that are not burying people who have committed homicide and suicide, let them know that it's a mental illness. And because we bury people with the cancer who have died of cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and other things, it's the high time we came up to tell the world that this is a sickness of the brain, and anybody can get sick. And so our brothers and sisters, let us gather together to give voice to the voiceless, because when you are mentally sick, you don't have a voice. We are the voice of the voiceless. Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Ongecha, for last Monday and this Monday, Dr. Agnes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us information that I think everybody needs. Everybody needs. And like we said, if you have malaria, you go to the hospital. So if you have bipolar disorder, get yourself to a hospital, and you are going to get a cure, because it is there, and you're going to be learning a lot on treatment. I think that is the most important bit of the conversation, at least for the people, because right now we have sorted people whose symptoms are not very severe, or preventive measures, but for people who are actually right now suffering from mental disorders, they need tomorrow's discussion to discuss on treatment. So join us here tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with Richard Okenye, and you're going to be learning much more. Otherwise, right about now, we are closing our launch number 1. I hope that you have learned as